Hello, lovely people. How are you? Hope you are observing the protocol and following the desired discipline for the sake of family, friends, society, and humanity on the whole. Welcome to another episode of Know the Happiness How with Winko Chow. And I'm your host, Winkamana Satyendra Chauhan, aka Winko Chow, an air veteran and a resilient lifestyle strategy coach from Bangalore, India. And yes, you must be wondering where was I? Yes, I've been missing a long layoff, battling the virus with self and in the family. But I'm all good and up and running and kicking and back in the full gear, I guess. And as you see, with me today is our guest, a lovely guest who comes from New Delhi, lives in Austin, Texas. She's an entrepreneur, founder, and CEO of Cosmos City Media. She is a journalist. She's an anchor at TV Asia, has her own podcast, Fab Life 360 on Ruckus Avenue Radio. She covers positive and uplifting stories about celebrities, artists, and entrepreneurs. Yes, not to leave alone the philanthropists. A master's in business management, Seema has a series of qualifications in language, literature, management. So, ladies and gentlemen, with the short introduction, I give you Seema Govil.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you. That's an honor.
All right. So, Seema, welcome to have you on Know the Happiness How with Winko Chow. It is a show that airs meaningful conversations to bring a smile on the faces and a cheer to lighten the moods, and also an attempt to bring some sparkle in the eyes of young executives, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are working high pressure jobs, living in big cities, facing multiple challenges, and yes, not to leave out the big word negativity. So, and in this show, we're going to be talking about how to retain and sustain happiness besides or having all those factors in your life. We also try and touch upon the whys and what of resilience at workplace, and most importantly, hows of this happiness that we are seeking. And yes, you are somebody who actually meets our brand tagline, that is, bring a smile on the face, a cheer to lighten the moods, and bring that sparkle back in the eyes. So, what I would begin by asking you is that when I was doing my little research on you, I came across this very interesting fact about you. And
Oh.
that was to kind of welcome somebody on the show who has some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. So, and yes, while I would leave that question for a moment to touch upon, I would also begin by maybe kind of trying to attempt to read some lines which I found somewhere. Is it a snippet, a poem, and or just an expression of a thought? You'll have to tell us. And please forgive me if I go wrong anywhere. So here I go. It is no crinkling of glasses over a candlelit dinner for a while, no warm hugs or giving shoulder to a bereaved friend. Nevertheless, I'm here for you. I'm here in spirit. I'm here with my whole heart. When we've won this battle, our hugs will be lighter and longer. Our shoulders will be home for all, and crinkling of glasses will be heard every day. Celebrating love, celebrating life. That was so, so very touching, and wish this was published for all to read. Yes, not going literally by the sense, but yes, going by the spirit of what you're trying to say here. So, why don't you tell us a little more about what you'd written?
Yeah, I know. I also feel I should have kind of pursued it, sent it to publishers to publish it because it's of hope. So, you want to know what made me write this?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, yeah. Just, this, I think this was okay. So, first of all, it's technically a poem, but I'm nowhere close to a poet at all. I've never written poems in my life before, maybe one odd for my niece's wedding, my help my daughter like that. But I have never like written a poem per se. So, but in this time, I wrote about I think three or four or five. So that's a quarantine effect. So the inspiration was just that uh, I was seeing that the misery that people were going through
Mhm,
because they were not meeting.
mhm,
You know, people always felt that, oh my goodness, we are social animals. We are supposed to be with other people. We live in a community, and how can we survive without being with others and all of it?
mhm,
So I was just thinking of those single people, of thinking people who are uh, you know the most affected I started feeling was youth
mhm,
who are single and who are in their 20s, who do not live with their families, and every social interaction comes from going out. They go out, meet new people, date, and that's what their life is. And the house is just like literally a sleeping pad. They just come, crash, and go again, and they're out all day. So I was just like, one day I was, I think, reading a book or something, and my thought went to all of those people who are just now so worried that should they not meet anyone? Should they meet few? Should they meet everyone and forget about it? What should they be doing? Or should they just get depressed? I mean, what is it? So then I just imagine a table and a nice toast, and I was like, oh gosh, no crinkling of glasses. So that's how the first line came. And what I noticed when I wrote these poems is that they just flow. I didn't plan it. It's not that I told myself, okay, let's just write a poem today. And I opened my laptop and I thought of something. No, it just flowed. The lines just kept coming.
mhm.
And I realized that, okay, if I don't write it, then they're gone. So I literally scribbled it in my notes, or, just put it down somewhere. And then later on, I put it in a laptop, edited it, and made it nicer. And it was just, the idea was just this, that this is just now, and now more than ever we cherish the value of friendship, the
Right.
value of people, relationships. And when we are actually out there, when hopefully soon now, then we would have a lot more value. It will be more precious to us because we took it for granted, you know
Right.
so since we took it for granted, we forgot that there would be a day where we won't be able to see these people, family or friends or strangers or whomever. So we'll just value it more. And I wanted to, for the mental health, for the peace, hope, I just wanted people to know that social distancing is not really social distancing. It's physical distancing. I'm there, just so that the person knows I'm there in every form for you, but I just cannot be there in person. And that was just the whole thing.
So all those who had read it on her social platform, now you know what was the spirit behind it. And like I had said right in the beginning, it's all that cheer, smile, and the sparkle that is behind this multifaceted personality. And now I come to another interesting part, which I was saying. So, what is this? Some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. So, does it sum you up, or is it the lifestyle that you live, or is it a mantra that you want to share with people?
uh, Not really anything that complicated, but just a simple, I think that's who I am. I just feel like that's how I live my life. Is, of course, I have passion and I always have compassion. and I don't want to live my life without humor and some fun. And of course, there has to be some style with it, with some substance.
Absolutely. And that is where we come to respect the creator. And like I believe that we're all born with that innate strength and qualities, that is being honest, being happy, humorous, intelligent, knowledgeable, powerful. Yet somewhere down the line, the environment takes over and we
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of forget. So it's good to have a tagline, something like this, which can keep reminding you, or maybe a mantra which can uh, make you rise every morning and on the go. Well, now we come to uh, understand what you are. So the little bit that I know about you, you come from New Delhi, and you're a graduate of Lady Shri Ram College. People who really do not know, I know a little bit about it, and it's one of the prestigious colleges of India. So, and yes, I am not doing any marketing for them. So you worked in British Airways, you worked at a lot of places, you worked at Skypass Travel, Unisys Corp, and now you don quite a few hats of being an entrepreneur, anchor, podcaster, and also an activist who supports nonprofits. So tell me something about this journey. Was it eventful? Was it challenging? Or was it a smooth sail? Let's hear about it.
Well, anything that's worth it can never be a smooth sail.
Very true, very true.
you know so it was challenging, but it's been a lot of fun. It's something that I never predicted. I never thought that this will be my route 20 years back. If somebody
Mhm.
asked me that this is what I will be doing in 2020, no, of course not. I didn't think like that, that I would be in media doing all this. But I am the kind of a person who likes to go with the flow a lot.
Mhm.
So I, of course, right after I graduated, I did a few more travel related courses. I did French, I did MBA, I did BEd, I did lots of things post grad, because my mom and I we used to, whenever we used to discuss education, careers, we would always say, oh, let's have like lots of options, then we can choose whatever comes in our way. So if the time comes where I need to be in a school, then I should be able to have a teacher's degree. If I get a chance, I should be able to have a business. If I have, and I wanted to travel, so I did one course on travel. And so I did all of it within 3-4 years after graduating from LSR simultaneously. So then eventually I think I was bending towards travel, so I joined British Airways. And then I worked there for some time, and then we moved to the US. And then when I came here again, lifestyle choices were left behind. You had to make new choices here because those choices weren't applicable. British Airways job was one of the best jobs you can have in Delhi in back in the day, in the 90s,
Very true.
because that time multinationals were still very new. They paid well, this that, but when I came here, this was all right, but nothing like exceptional. Another thing was, in Austin we didn't have any international airports.
Mhm.
And the systems were different, this that, so I kind of figured that travel or airlines is not right now possible. So I just started, just to get put in the door. I started with Skypass Travel because that's something I knew very well. I knew the system. They were happy. Then I had somebody who knew. So we took off like that. And then again, I went back to school, did a few courses on small business management, marketing, sales, kind of honed my skills in that area. Because for some reason, I was really intrigued. I was getting intrigued by startups. I kept used to, I remember I used to just lay in the night and think, how do you differentiate between these companies? They have all great ideas. How does one become
Mhm.
more successful than other? What's the difference? And I wanted to kind of go in depth in all of that and understand
Mhm.
before doing any of that. So I kept working on those sides. And then I volunteered with the nonprofit called SCORE. They used to assess business plans for startups. So I was like, oh, I'll get an opportunity to see lots of business plans and talk to the new startups. And that was also a way to get a foot in the door in this new field, right? In the
Mhm.
business. And then I met Jan Triplet there. She's still my mentor. She runs Business Success Center. So that's what she did, helped entrepreneurs, startups as how to grow through holding workshops, networking events, invite speakers, all those kind of things. So I was like, oh, this is the place. So after that, I said, you know what? If you don't have a job, that's fine. I'll just come and just watch, just give me any work. I'll just observe you and be here. She's like, yeah, sure. And so I just kept going over there. And then she eventually had an opening. She gave me a job there. I worked there for some time and I learned a lot. I think my life foundation was based in that little office, because I met so many different businesses, people, these workshops, and I was like absorbing everything like a sponge. I didn't know at that time when and where I'll use it, but I just kept learning. And then after that, I didn't work there for very long, because then I got another job offer at Unisys, which is an IT company that had great benefits, and the timings and everything was good with little kids that time. It worked out well for me, uh, with the Unisys. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll work here for some time. So then I worked there in Unisys for a few years. And then again, again, time came and I felt, oh my God, I think I'm done with Unisys. And I was actually just wanted to take a break that time. At least like before I joined Unisys, I knew what I was doing. When I quit Unisys, I didn't have any plan. I just knew I wanted to take a break. I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. Maybe just stay home, maybe just volunteer, maybe not. I was fine with whatever was in destiny for me. The kids were young and I had worked so hard all these years. And I said, I do deserve a break also. So I took maybe, some time off, 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, something like that. And then I had a friend, she was starting a new show in California for South Asians on Sony, like, perspectives of South Asian Americans, how they're living their life, what they do, just a lifestyle kind of a show. So I was like, that's something really interesting. And I told her, I said, I don't know how and why, but I think I can contribute. She's like, yeah, this is new. I'm looking for people. Let's make a team. So I joined her. She was in California. I was in Austin, but we still made it happen. So I worked there for a few years, not few years, I think maybe 1.5 year,
Okay.
2 years. Did it few seasons, and then after that I knew again, it was then very clear what I had to do, and that was to start my own company, to start my own business, and that's when I launched Cosmo City Media.
Great. That's not only a interesting story, uh, it also gives me few very interesting perspectives, about not only you, it gives me perspectives about life on the whole. Uh, I mean, good and well placed are those uh, who have a very streamlined life. They go by the various phases and kind of stick to the books, and they're there. But I find this more interesting, where you experimenting actually, and the facets of life that you have seen, or maybe I have seen, or many have seen, or people at times, for the want of these experiences, quit that run of the mill straight line jobs and do all this. So all those who are looking to experience life, don't keep it limited, you see. Don't limit yourself to only things. Go out and kind of explore, and I'm sure you would find this very interesting. There would be ups and downs, but yet at the end of the day, life is all about those. It's we created here to contribute, so might as well contribute with your experiences. That was so very, very interesting to me. Now
Yeah,
I come to, yeah.
actually what had happened was, I have to tell you this though, when I was mentioning to you that I quit Unisys,
Hmm.
I read a lot. So
Okay.
I read this book, Tipping Point.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes.
So in that book, actually, I felt like I found myself
Oh,
while
great.
reading that book.
So
I
great.
understood my personality. I understood what I was meant for and what I'd be good at.
So all those listening in and who would be watching it and listening to this podcast, go grab a copy of Tipping Point, and you,
And
if you
Blink
want to
also.
explore, and
Blink.
Blink. All right, great. So now I come to a little bit of tricky ones, and this is we all know there is politics everywhere. I mean, in most of the corners of the human sphere of life, there is politics, and the creative industry or the media and the audiovisual business is not really immune to it. So, and yet, what I have read about you and what you had shared with me was that you're a big proponent of collaboration. So, although I share that with you, yet, I would want to know your perspective on what do you think of cooperation and collaboration? Can it really hold one in good stead in the world of cutthroat competition, if I may use that phrase?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what is reality. I sometimes like to live in a dream world too much in a big fashion. But I really, from inside, from every bone of mine, really believe in collaboration versus competition.
Mhm.
Because I have seen when there is competition, so much energy, so much time goes in handling the competition, that if they put that time and energy and collaborate, then do something together, they would have better results. And I feel like there is a market for everyone. There is plenty of fish, there's plenty of people who need my services, your services, her services, that services. Everyone needs different things, and everyone
Mhm.
represents different. Nobody is exactly same. Whatever works
Very
for
true.
anybody. Like, somebody will order from Uber Eats, somebody will get DoorDash, somebody will watch Netflix, somebody will watch Amazon. It's not that they are both doing well. So, but those are big companies. So I'll give you an example why why that thought came to my head is when I used to travel for TV Asia. I was covering events in Dallas, once in a while in Houston too, but they have someone there. But I did go there when there were big events. And so I noticed that whenever there were big events, there was a lot of competition between event organizers and every place, not just here, every place, not just Dallas, Houston, not just Indians. Anytime there are events, big events happening, there is a lot of competition.
Mhm.
So I was like, I didn't feel very comfortable with that competition in one city. I was like, what if, uh, why does it have to be there? Why can't people go for both events or choose and be okay? So, and I'm not an event organizer, so I shouldn't be saying that, because they have a hard time selling their tickets. So I can understand they have to sell their halls, they have to
Uh-huh.
sell the tickets. It's not that easy to sell events to Indians. So anyway, but when I came to when in Austin, I knew I worked with the community, I worked with nonprofits, I worked with everybody. So this is what I used to always tell them. I was like, you know what? How about we actually show up? Like, if you are having an event, and A is having an event, and B is having an event, and C is having an event in these 2, 3 months, you show up for all the other event organizers too. You go with the family, buy the tickets, help them sell the tickets, and go and attend their events. If it's a nonprofit gala, buy a table. Then they would buy a table and they would expect you. So help them. Then when your turn comes, then they'll help you too. So this is like natural, common sense. People do this all the time. But I kind of really emphasized on not competing, but just collaborating. And everyone shows up for everybody, and everyone just gives us support and have that solid frame that, okay, we'll do ours, you do yours, and we'll be there for each other.
Excellent. Excellent. And what it
So
also.
far, and Austin has a small market. So far, it's working well. so far.
No, it would
We have a
also.
very, very congenial community here.
No, not only that. I don't know. Maybe I would sound slightly philosophical when I say this, but on if you look at that holistic aspect and you look at from the energy point of view, see, we are created to cooperate and grow. We created to add value to this beautiful creation called the planet, the earth, or the universe, if you say, and add more color, add more vibrance to it. So I always believe that that is the basics. And if that is the basics, we are expected to cooperate. Imagine when we all started, had we had competition within ourselves, we wouldn't have reached where we are. So we
Yeah.
wouldn't have formed communities. So we wouldn't have formed societies and stuff like that. So completely agree. That is what I was telling you right in the beginning, that I share this view very strongly, that it is cooperation and coordination with others, and like you put it, collaboration, and it is competition from within. You better yourself. So if you
Uh-huh.
have to compete, you add value to your stuff, and you would find that you're doing better, and then probably you may be a notch higher than the others. Yet without collaboration, I don't think it is possible. Yet you have answered quite a bit. Yet what I would want to ask you is that, is it that easy, or is it, although you have said it is difficult task, but to walk the talk, how's been your experience when you say
Uh,
collaborate?
See, it's not, everything is not in my hand, right?
Okay.
Eventually, it's the people who are doing, who have their own business, who have their events, or who have their, it is about their values as well,
Uh-huh.
you know. So I think sometimes it works out, sometimes it works out really well, but as I said, that at the end of the day they do also have to pay the cost, they have to cover their cost, and they have to be decently profitable to make the worthwhile, they have worked hard for it. But as long as, I mean, there is something, if it's not collaboration at some point, there is something also healthy competition too,
Very
you know.
true. Very true.
Restaurants exist, there's lots of restaurants are there, we all go and visit. It doesn't mean one is good, the other one is bad, no. So you do, the best thing you can do is be the best at whatever you are doing, and just leave it to the universe and go on, and just be kind and nice to everybody, and don't do anything to undo their business,
Very true.
that's all. If there is not a collaboration possible, if you have to do what you have to do, if they have to do, they have to do, but at least do not destroy them. That's the
Uh-huh.
thing. Let them do their work as well as they can, and do yours as best as you can.
So all those listening and watching us, if you are taking the cue from there and trying to read between the lines, it is better yourself, better your qualities, and don't be negative. You have to let everyone exist, and once we exist in harmony, there would be some place. Sometimes you might be number one, sometimes you might maybe number two, but yet you would survive. So don't be negative. That is the
And we
point
can
there.
learn so much from them. We
Very
can,
true.
if we just observe, we should learn from them what they are doing right.
Absolutely.
Maybe
So
we are missing some things.
yeah, but tell me one thing. Mm, while you're doing that, I'm sure when you're finding the worldly ways and trying to explore things and trying to do things which are positive and good, are they difficult to execute? And did you have to make some tough decisions? Uh, Maybe it was affecting your personal life, or maybe affects your relationships, and if it affects your business. But are there moments and times when it is difficult, or you have to kind of be assertive and say, okay, I'm gonna do this?
Difficult in the sense that, as a woman, and I have a family, I have kids, I have husband, I have,
Hmm.
so there's always some challenges, and my job, as you can see, it's 9 to 5 straight job, right? So So I work on the weekends, I travel, I have to, do things that other moms don't do. So that's a challenge. That's always a challenge, how to leverage your job, how to be a good mom, how to balance and still keep sanity in the house, keep kids happy so that they don't feel that I'm not there. So that's the only challenge that I always encounter. And so you for that, I think what I do is I have to plan ahead. I kind of if we both have to go, my husband stays back. I feed and my daughter is older, so it's not that she has to, but growing up all these years, it's we made a choice that if we both go, sometimes the nice events or stuff, so he comes with me. So then I make sure I find her a friend that she can hang out with, or she has some homework that she has stored up that she can do while we are gone, and when we are available, then we can do the family time. So things like that I have to plan a little bit ahead of time. The foods, the
Very
dinners,
true.
everything has to be planned ahead. You can't just say, okay, like I'm gone, and then you manage now. You're on your own, kind of a thing.
So essentially, what you're trying to
So
say
that's the
here,
only problem. And travel,
haha. So essentially, what you're trying to say here
and travel.
is,
Another challenge has come. I was, yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying for travel, sometimes the challenges came when I also had to travel and my husband also had to travel at the same time. So
Haha.
we had decided that never ever we will do that.
Okay,
And so I kind of, take a back seat um, if he had to travel. But if something of my extreme importance was there, then he took a back seat, or maybe two or twice or thrice in all these years it must have happened that we both traveled, and that was just for one night. Then I had a friend or a neighbor take care of my kids.
great. So what I was saying is that essentially what you're trying to say here is that one needs to plan. Uh, Although what you were narrating is your experience, but people listening and youth in general, or professionals who are facing these challenges at in their own quarters, need to know that they need to plan, and there has to be some adjustment, and sometimes you have to in a way sacrifice. So remember, what I'm seeing here is kind of acceptance of, saying that there would be challenges, and it's okay sometimes to give in and still continue with your life. And if you are positive, I'm very sure that we would continue to go ahead. So now, coming to the present times, when we're talking of challenges, it couldn't have been uh, predicted, and was never predicted. No astrologers told us, and that this was coming. And although we say that these are written at certain point in time, certain movies had already kind of read this and covered this. Yet these were very challenging times, were big surprises, lots of losses in terms of lives, in terms of professions, in terms of businesses. So, how has it been for you and your team, your surrounding, your peers? How challenging this has been? And if I may ask you an added question, uh, how prepared were you uh, to kind of take
Oh,
advantage of this opportunity, which some call it?
oh, no, not prepared at all.
Okay,
Who was prepared? I don't know anyone who was prepared, right?
very true.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know this world that we are living in. This was always a go-go world, and that was normal, and now this is new norm from last 10 months. So while it's been so long, but I still feel like I'm still grappling with the reality. But I wouldn't call it like opportunity in disguise and all of that, honestly, because I don't want to think like this for COVID because so many people have lost lives, so many people have lost jobs, houses, so much has happened. So I just don't want to think in that way. But yeah, since we had to do something, we had to get through and we had to keep our mental health and we had to keep ourselves safe and healthy and follow the guidelines and help the system, help the economy, help the so we had to do our part. So I was very diligent in doing my part. And my family, we didn't do any activities that that would make the system worse, spread the virus. So we did all that, of course. And then to kind of do what I did, I mean, some of the activities are cathartic, like I wrote poetry, I did a lot of workouts. I think I worked out lot more in these months than I've ever did in my life. There was a time when I started really well, then a couple of months came, I didn't. Then I knew that, okay, I was sitting too long, working too much, so I just need to get off the. So then I added more. So now, touch wood, cross fingers. So now again, it has got back to where I've added a lot of variety. I'm doing different things, walking to Zoom classes, to sports, to tennis, to basketball, reviving the old sports that I played back in the day. So that's been really nice to get back on the courts. Playing has been really, really nice. It's like meditation. Sports
I
is like
see.
meditation.
Yeah. So
You are
so
in the present moment and you just do it. And it kind of give you time to, you can say, like, pause and reflect. If you couldn't go outside, you could go inside. You developed a lot of things about world, about you, your life, your family, food, and there's a lot of catching up that I think
very true.
everyone did during this time. So we shouldn't let it and chronicle it. We can let it. We are living this moment in history. We'll look back one day and we have to answer ourselves and to our future generation. Like, what did we do for these 10, 12 months? We can't just say, oh, we hung out and that's it.
Very true. Very true.
So
And
we pivoted, we embraced, we did whatever best we can from our work wise to helping people wise. Whatever activities were going on, we did everything the best as possible. In fact, some of the things we did more, we did better while doing it online. But I did a lot of projects staying home,
all
work
right.
wise also.
So yeah, when I was saying this, and as a matter of fact, this was given to me by one of my guests. He said, I use this as an opportunity. So yes, while nobody was prepared actually, yet when you started reflecting and you started, being with yourself, you found that, oh, let me utilize this. So that is where we started off, and that is where we said, okay, there is this opportunity, and a lot of businesses have grown, people have come up with new products,
Yeah.
and like you said,
Yeah, absolutely.
there are projects
Businesses
that.
is of, I don't even want to think about it
Very
because,
true.
how much, again, when we were talking about businesses in the beginning, you heard from me that how passionate I was to, having different, uh, having seeing success for people in businesses.
Hmm.
And these people, this was their life. This is what they knew from last 20, 40 years, and they're gone. So many businesses are gone. So anyway,
Yeah.
hopefully, they'll get back,
No,
start something
yes, we
new,
will.
start fresh.
We will
As long as
certainly.
everyone survives this, we can handle all that later on.
We will all survive, and cooperation, collaboration will be the key to survive. And whilst the reality uh, cannot be neglected, yet one has to be optimistic and look beyond it and continue the life. Tell me, I mean, let's leave this and ask you, how do you generally cope up with the challenges, or what do you suggest uh, one could do if one is going through those, low times, bad times, worst times? What has been your mantra?
Uh, there is no like a set mantra that, oh, this happens, so this is it. Every
Hmm.
situation is different, every challenge is different, every time you have to come up with different answers. There's not one answer, but the only thing that is doable is are we there?
Yes, yes, very much.
Okay, okay. The only thing that is really doable and should be done is your mental strength. Is just your mind. I think what you shouldn't ever lose is your mind,
Mhm. Very true.
because when you lose your mind, then you lose everything.
Very true.
Uh, so I think if you're strong mentally, then it's easier. So first of all, anything what I'm saying, anybody who's listening say, "Oh, that's easier said than done," and I agree. It is easier said than done. Doing is a lot harder. Preaching, telling someone, lecture, do it, don't be scared, don't do this, is very easy. But when you have to go through it, it's a process, and only that person who's going through understands. No one else can
Right.
even understand. It's their challenge, their face, and you can't. I mean, and everyone has a different life that they have left. Their background is different, their growth is different, their growing up is different, parents, school, college, everything is different, when they walk in the shoes. So everyone has to do it in their own way. There is not a cookie cutter answer for this.
Very true.
The only thing that you have to really do is, first of all, when something happens, suppose there is something that you have to handle, tough, very tough, challenging. First, of course, everyone gets stressed out. They get, totally, they lose it, and everyone handles that differently. So once that first round of initial stress is taken, and then you go through the phases, then that's the next phase. You kind of start thinking, okay, what's the worst that can happen and what's the best that can happen. So you analyze all the worst scenarios and you kind of pick whatever best choice you can make in that and make a decision, and then slowly grapple with the idea of reality, that this is it. Self talk, replace the words. If you were facing something that you feel responsible, that you feel that you made a mistake, that's fine. We all make mistakes. I've made hundreds of mistakes. I'm still making every day. We learn from it, we get up and go. We don't hold ourselves so guilty and so regret that we just stay there and not move on. So we talk to ourselves, do a lot of self talk, do a lot of reading, listen to your gurus, your mentors, Dr. Deepak Chopra, Sister Shivangi, Sadhguru, Sri Ravi Shankar. There's so many over there that you relate to. Jay Shetty, like, I like him a lot too these days.
Uh-huh.
And I'm reading his book. I really enjoying it. So there are some lines that say a lot of things are similar. One would say Tony Robbins, right? But sometimes the way choice of words and the way a sentence is phrased, the way somebody gives example, you relate to it. So
Very
read
true.
a lot of books. So that's what I do. I always do. I go back to my books and read a lot. Now, of course, I listen to a lot of podcasts, watch a lot of YouTube, go through that process. Sometimes I talk to my friends, sometimes I don't. And
Hmm.
if I'll talk to one or two people whom I really, really depend on, and I know that they understand what I'm saying and they won't judge me and they will actually give me be part of the solution.
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes the other person doesn't have a solution. You have the solution, but it just helps to talk. And sometimes, actually, I feel sometimes it doesn't help to talk, because if it's not that great, it expands by talking. Because if the other person doesn't have anything to contribute, it grows more, it looks bigger than what it is. So that decision also you have to take, that is it something that the other person can really help you
That's
know
very, very, very,
so if
very,
I'm looking
very
for help,
insightful.
then only I discuss with anybody. If I'm not looking for help, then I don't just do it just to get it out, just to vent. I don't do that. that that doesn't help
Very
much.
true.
Some people it might be, but I know if they can help me, I definitely will take their expertise. And that has also, one of you saying mantra, I think that's one of the things that has helped me, is one or two people, trusted people. I will talk to them, ask them, and we'll have some kind of solution that maybe going forward we can do this way.
Excellent. So, I mean, that's very insightful and very practical, like you said, and it got me also thinking that yes, one template doesn't fit the other, and especially in human life and human element, human behavior, it has to be different. And mental strength is the key here. Flexibility, for planning processes and execution is certainly there. And a very important thing that you said here was look inside, seek help, listen, read, watch things which are available, and yet share with only trusted ones. Very true. And there is actually a Hindi saying which I will leave out today, but it goes something very close to that. That when you discuss with everybody else, they really can't add. Actually, they add woes to your trouble sometimes. So it's very important to learn to look for only those trusted ones with whom you can share. So while you were saying
and
that
and
there,
your gut and
and yes, the intuitive
your
feeling, I
gut
guess.
your gut
Yes.
always tells you, like, whisper. In fact, sometimes it's just a little whisper. And I have seen both. I
Mhm.
have ignored the whispers and I've listened to the whispers.